Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Community's Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 750. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I have my favorite co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Corey, it's cold here in Broadcom's corporate headquarters in Palo Alto. It's been like in the 40s, and winter is here for sure. Rainy, cold, cloudy, foggy. How's it doing up in Utah?
It is freezing in Utah. Yeah, it's been freezing for a while here. Got a little bit of snow last week, but haven't had much this year so far.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm spoiled because we had a VMUG board meeting in Washington, D.C. last week. And when we got there, it was 29 degrees and snowing, and they accumulated like 3 or 4 inches of snow on everything, and it was like, wow, this is really cold. Like, you need a hat on, you need to bundle up, especially with a little bit of wind chill factor, right? It's like, yeah, it is what it is, right? So I'm spoiled, but nonetheless, I'm cold here in Palo Alto as well, right? It's chilly. So hey, we're in wintertime. It's almost the holiday season, so that's kind of fun. And there we go. So on the show today, we are going to be talking to Gabi Nuñes. He's done a blog article on Workload Repatriation, and that's been super popular. It's been trending, and I've checked it out. It's a really great blog. So we'll talk to Gabi in a little bit. But before we do that, let's do a little loop around the news. I'll do mine first, Corey. Then you can go back and we'll talk a little about vExperts, and then we'll talk about Advantage. So shout out to everybody that the VMUG board that went to DC and did 2 days of planning for next year. A lot of VMUG Connect work. It's going to be great events next year. We've already had 85 paper submissions. So paper submission, I think, ends December 20th, something like that. So if you want to get a ticket for free to go to the VMUG Connects, there are 5 of them next year: Amsterdam, Minnesota, Orlando, and 1 or 2 others. Get your paper submission in. I think they have 85. You'll get a ticket. The ticket's like worth $450 for the 3-day event. It's actually 2.5 days plus an unconference on the first day. And I'm really excited about the unconference. A lot going on there. We're going to do an unconference on private AI, where we're going to talk about GPUs. You can put on whiteboard, your issues with GPUs. We're going to be talking about LLMs. We're going to be talking about one other subject on AI. Then we move to security. There'll be a community unconference. So there's going to be 3 of those, and I'm excited about those on day 0. That starts at noon and goes till like 6. So there'll be 3 of those 2-hour sessions. And then day 1 is keynote, day 2 is keynote, 4-track sessions at these guys. So get your paper submissions in. Go to vmug.com and look, you'll find that paper submission URL and get an idea. Just write up your idea, submit it. They've got 85 so far. I know they're looking for more, because if you think about 4 tracks for 2 days, they could use some additional ones. So looking forward to that. And that's what's going on with VMUG. So shout out to all of VMUG leadership for being there. And then Corey, we'll talk a little bit about vExperts and whatever you got going, and then I'll finish up with Advantage.
Yeah. So the vExpert applications for the 2026 program are opening next week on December 15th, and they're going to be closing on January 15th, and we're going to start voting on January 16th. And then we expect to have the announcements done and ready to go by February 13th or sooner. So that's the news with the vehicle.
Nice. So I have a question on that. This is the 2025 award for all the work you did in 2025, and then you get the award and you're an active member for 2026. Do you still get the free Advantage membership?
Yes, you do. Yes. 2026, right. We're going to do the free membership for VMUG.
Then I know you're going to announce that for 2027, you're going to have to, in 2026, talk about what VMUG Advantage and Home Lab and certification means to you, so that you do some marketing for VMUG Advantage, right?
Exactly.
So we will require that. I don't know how we're gonna manage that application process, but I guess we'll work on that next year and see if we can get that automated, right? So that you can show your article, show that you promoted Advantage. But for this year, you get that VMUG Advantage, go get your VCP certification. And that leads into my next announcement, the VCP portal, right? That you get your advantage, go past your VCP. The portal now went live on Monday morning, over the weekend actually, and it has VCF licenses with token generations and download. Everything's live now, and everything works. And I've got several different community members that have gone in and updated, got their tokens, got the SEC manager, installed VCF, and they're like, it's beautiful. It installed in 2 hours. It all worked, and they're super excited about it.
And Eric from the community, thank you. Corey, thank you.
Yeah. Yep, it's we're here. We're at VCF 9, and it is a beautiful thing. And you get your licenses. For those people that already had a license running VCF 5.x or any other license in the portal, if you're up to a year, if your year has expired, it'll tell you when you're in there, your license is expiring. You have 2 months to take the refresher exam in order to then get your next set of licenses. We're going to probably deploy that out to 6 months because 2 months is a little bit short. You can take it 2 months before your license is expired and 2 months after. So if you got that home and your vSphere is complaining or your VCF is complaining that your license is about to expire, go to your education portal. VMUG will be sending out the access code for the refresher quiz. And so go take your refresher certification. There's 2 in the portal, education portal with the code. One that says refresher number 2 and then refresher number 3 or something, refresher 1. That's for year 2 and year 3. So remember, we give you a 3-year license. You just have to refresh it every year. And that little refresher exam kicks off them sending you your new license. It's a 20 question easy little refresher quiz, and if you fail it for some ungodly reason, you can take it 7 days later. So you can take your refresher quiz and it doesn't change. So if you take it and for some reason you can't pass the 20 questions, maybe you should screenshot them and go do the research, wait 7 days and do it again. So we're not meaning to make it hard. It's just the way the license activation will be automatically kicked off, and we need that moment in the education portal to kick off the process of sending you your next year's license keys. And generate your token, and you got another year license, 128 cores. Very exciting. Matt Hillstead is really excited about his. He's got his home lab up and running, and it's been super exciting. So that's the news. I'm excited to get that done and head into the Christmas season with that running. And I am trying to put together a 12 days of holiday cheer where we'll be talking about private AI and things you can go learn about. So stay tuned for that. With that, that's all the news I got. Corey, anybody else have anything?
No.
All right. Well, let's get to Gabi. So, Gabi Nuñes, thanks for being on the show. Great blog article on workload repatriation. We always start on the community podcast with, because we are community podcasts. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? What do you do in the VMware ecosystem? How did you get here? What does your career arc look like?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And also this year I will be looking for my 10-year vExpert star. So
congrats. Yeah.
Let's see what happened there, but I am really excited about that. Well, my career started a long time ago. I am from Argentina, so I started working in Argentina in companies like HP or IBM, right? In IBM, I started with the VMware, working or knowing about VMware I will say like 20 years ago, more or less, perhaps a little bit less, with the ESX 2.5 and 3 at that moment, supporting big company from Argentina. Then I moved to other companies in Argentina. I was living in Mexico for 1 year, and then I arrived here. I am in Ireland right now, in Cork, like 11 or 12 years ago, so a long time. In Ireland, I went to several companies until I ended in VMware because of my background 8 years ago. So long time. And I will say that all my career is based on VMware and VMware products, right? Um, 10
Right.
years ago, as I mentioned, I knew about this vExpert. I was afraid about being part of it the first year, I guess. Then the second year, I say, why not? Because I already had a blog at that time. And I started there, and I am really happy about that because I made a lot of friends, a really big relationship with different people in the world. So I am really happy about that. Nowadays, I am part of the portfolio services engineering team here at Broken by VMware. This means that I am in charge of creating our services, not all of them because we are a big team, but some of our services and the EDMs or the artifacts that we create supporting those services, right? For example, and one of the services that we have is migration. And that is why I started looking into that, and I ended writing that blog or that
Nice.
post, right? Yeah.
Nice, and I will do a shout out to the blog. I would highly recommend everybody go take a look at this one. It's GNUS, GNUNES.cloud, and he has the articles, his latest articles, on the right hand sidebar, and you can just scroll around. And maybe 3 or 4 articles ago, Workload Repatriation, and you have some great graphs in there. I would highly recommend, if you're listening to this podcast, go find a browser, go check it out, because it is. It's a really nice blog, right?
Yeah, I was surprised about the visitors and the clicks that one had in particular. I was surprised about that. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, we actually invite people on the show because we use a tool called Dynamic Signal that monitors traffic on activity, and you trended, right? So you trended on the platform, and that blog article trended. So yeah, did well, and now you're here. It'll trend again, right? It'll trend again.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about workload repatriation. And most of us kind of know the story, but just for those people that are listening that might not know it, why don't you give us a little summary of how do we get here? Why did so many people just jump to the cloud? Or what is the story behind, the whole going to the cloud and now maybe coming back? What's the deal there?
Well, it was trending going to the cloud some years ago, right? Everybody was going to the cloud. They didn't know why, but you should be there, right? That was the main topic for everybody. And then I believe people started to realize that not every workload need to be there, right? There are a lot of things that you need to take into consideration that perhaps you didn't thought about that at that moment. And now, a couple of years later, you are rethinking everything, right? Why I am getting this bill from the hyperscalers? That is the first one. So a lot of surprises that they are having every month.
Right.
Most of them at the very beginning, right? And yeah.
I feel like the process was kind of like, quick, I need to get on the cloud. This is fun. I'll spin up some machines there, right? And I'll start using it. And I go, wow, I could turn off my whole, I could manage a lot of workload, power savings and everything. And they didn't really do your due diligence on competition between the hyperscalers. You just kind of went to the one that you knew how to use. In my case, it was AWS. I tried to do Azure. It was too complicated for me. And then I never really looked on beyond AWS. But I didn't really do the due diligence, as you point out. I didn't do competitive analysis. I didn't do any POCs. I just kind of needed to tell people, hey, we've got things on AWS. We're good, right? So
yes, but that takes time, right? I mean, it's not easy to compare one and the other one, and you need to understand really well your environment, because you need to understand which workload need to go into each hyperscaler, because it's not the same one or the other one, and also which one do you need to keep on premises, right? And that is important. Yeah.
Tony Foster.
Sorry.
Tony Foster, do you have any comments on that? Have you seen that? I know you're working closely with Dell and NVIDIA and those kind of people.
I actually have, and it's really interesting watching the dynamic and everything of different organizations and stuff out there, because some are like, let's put it all in the cloud, and then they realize that's not necessarily a great idea, and they sit there and find out, well, AWS runs this better than Azure does, and Azure runs this better, and this AI stuff, we probably ought to keep that on-prem because it is just so expensive to run in the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Right. I would say that I've seen instances where CTO, CIO came in and said, yeah, we're going to move everything to cloud. This is going to say this, we're going to migrate everything. This is the modern way. And, they start, and that guy lasts for 2 or 3, 4 years, a typical CIO executive level term, right? 4 to 5 years. But then pretty soon he looks for his next career opportunity, better job, more money. Maybe he's going to go be a CEO. Somebody else comes in and they flip flop. They're like, no, we want to bring this. I'm an on-prem guy, right? And I've seen that where institutions have different leaderships and then they have to respond, right, to what their leadership perspective is. Yeah. So Gabi, that frames kind of the history of where the cloud kind of got going, and I think most of us know this, right? Whether it's leadership or whether it's that, but then the cloud vendors were also changing, right? And their price structures tended to change depending on what they kind of figured out what their price structure actually is, right? And
also hidden cost, right? I mean, egress traffic. Nobody now everybody knows about that, but some years ago nobody knew about egress traffic, and the bills were really high because of that, and was a surprise for a lot of people as well, right?
Right.
That is a big one.
And in fairness to the cloud operators, I don't think they knew. They were on the fly setting this stuff up, and now when you get a refresh cycle where you're going to have to refresh all your hardware, the bills come due, and now they have to figure out how are they making money at this, and what is the true cost of operating a large-scale data center that needs hardware refreshes every 3 years, and then what hardware are they pinning to who, right? And all that becomes logistically interesting, right? And then they try to figure out what their costs are, and then pass it on to their consumers, right? So that's fair, but then that means that there's not a free ride when it comes to compute resources.
No, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that it's not fair. I mean, but there were a lot of surprises that people weren't expecting, right? That is what I am trying to say. But the cloud is not bad. I mean, it is something that we all need as well, right? It should be a balance, I guess.
Right. I agree. It's kind of like a power. You don't want to have all your power coming from one supplier, one vendor, one way, oil, solar, water, nuke. You need to have options so that you can have competition between the price of everything, right? And same thing with cloud services and data center operations, right? There's reasons for that. So enter your blog now, right? Which is, you have a great chart on when you come to this blog, and it has from 2020 survey results for what percentage of people are planning to bring workloads back. And in 2020, second half of 20, only 43% of people were considering bringing workloads back. 57% were happy. But then it shows the graph over the next 4 years, right? Where now we're at 2024, and it shows that 83% of people are considering bringing workloads back, and only 17% people are happy with just running on a public cloud.
Yeah, that is what we were talking, I guess. It's because at the very beginning everybody was excited about going into the cloud, but then they realized about different things, not only cost, but different things that may make they thought about perhaps coming back, not 100%, of course, but some workloads need to come back to the data center, right? The one that we have on premises, because it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does. And so now, this comes back to what we talked about earlier, I talked about earlier, which is just like you didn't do an analysis when you went to the cloud. you need to do some analysis when you come back, right? Because you don't want to make mistakes whipsawing back onto prem when, there's actually, math and science you need to do to figure out what to bring back, when to bring it back, and why, and expenses and so forth. And I think your blog article really did a nice job of ticking through, what's the considerations when you're thinking about repatriating a workload. So why don't you take us through some of the big drivers here?
Yeah, well, first of all, what I want to say is that repatriation is not a failure, right? I don't think that that's a failure. I mean, it's a type of a maturity step. You now understand what workloads need to be in each place, right?
Right.
But what I am seeing is, for example, as you mentioned, that there were a lot of customers that they want all into any public cloud. It doesn't matter which one, right?
Right.
Because they were thinking about speed or flexibility, those kind of things that they are true, right? And after a few years, as you mentioned, cost and performance are the problem that I am seeing that they are having, right? The bills that I talk about, latency, noisy neighbors as well, right? Because it's not your environment alone. You are sharing that. So you can have that neighbors that are making some issues there. Compliance is something that is really important, and the data residency, right? If we talk about sovereign, here in EMEA, that is really important. And it's not all, it can be the whole EMEA, but each country can have their own laws that you need to comply. And I believe that is better if you do it on premises, because if not, nobody can ensure you that you are being compliant with those requirements, right? And those are getting bigger and bigger and most important every time, because we are talking also about security, right?
Right. And I can imagine that you might get away with, having your workloads on the cloud and nobody's noticing, you're not getting audited. But the minute something goes wrong, right, and you have an outage, right, and it affects your business or it affects something in the country, then all of a sudden everybody's looking at you and they're doing audits, and then you're out of compliance.
Yeah, and also what you are talking about is really important. We have that example a couple of months ago in two different scenarios, right? That almost everything went down. So that is something that you need to take into consideration, right? Should you go only to one hyperscaler? Should you go to different ones just to have a balance? Do you need three legs? I mean, or your on premises and different hyperscalers, so you can play around in this type of scenarios. So your business have continuity, right? And you are not down, as it happened, I believe, a month ago or something similar.
So let's talk about network topology for a little bit, and the trade-offs, right? And the dollar amount on network connectivity, because there is, when you put your workloads in the cloud, there is, a delta between where your workloads are running and where your end users are, right? And then cost of network fabric and latency switch times versus having it on-prem, and the cost of that network might be lower because you're closer to the user base. Yeah,
you are totally right. Latency is something that it wasn't took into consideration in the past, but and nowadays that there are a lot of things going on because of the time of the year that we are living, right? So this is important because in this time of the year there are a lot of transactions going on. You know about that.
Right,
we are almost in Christmas, so latency is really important right now. And what you are mentioning is a key, right? Because if you want to have something, let's say with a nice speed, transactional speed going on in a proper time frame, latency can be a problem.
Right, and then deterministic latency, right? You want to be able to be deterministic, and talk about the next thing in your article, which is your noisy neighbor, right? Where if you're in a multi-tenant cloud, then can you guarantee the consistency of that latency?
Well, I will say you cannot, but you can, but it's really expensive as well. So, but it can give it's a big problem. And actually, again, this time of the year is bigger because transactions are higher for every company or most of them, right?
Right.
And they are using the same network, so that can be a problem. Yeah.
And then we talked already about just compute performance, right? Like if you're doing raw AI work, it can get expensive if you don't own the GPUs, right? Like
yeah, GPUs, storage as well, right? If you have an application that is needing a lot of storage, I would think about that because storage is really expensive if you talk.
Especially, in a hyperscaler, it's kind of like they get the margin on the little extras, right? Like storage, right? Where they're like,
yeah.
The milk was cheap, but when you walk through the aisles in the grocery store, you
well,
pick up that.
That is the problem that we were talking at the very beginning, right? That there are surprises, let's say, that nobody took into consideration, and storage is one of them, right? And it's a really important one.
Now, one of the things that I saw that I hadn't even thought of in your article, and your article makes me sound smart on this topic because I'm using but I'm just reading this.
No, you know my article better than me because I wrote it some months ago and I need to refresh my mind.
Right. But it is a really nice article and it's easy to consume. But the next topic there is hybrid flexibility without login. Now, I never even thought of that, and I'm not sure what hybrid flexibility means. So maybe you can take us through what is hybrid flexibility?
Well, it's what I was talking a couple of minutes ago, right? It's about adopting multiple cloud strategies, right? Placing the right workload in the right environment. So you need to understand really well your workloads. If you did it in the past because it was fancy to go to the cloud, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But now, as you mentioned, Eric, coming back, you need to understand really well what your workloads are doing, how they communicate with each other, right? Which one makes sense to have them on premises? Which one makes sense to keep them in the cloud? Because we are not talking about going back 100% to on premises, right? That would be crazy. Because a couple of years ago, everybody was talking, go to the cloud. And now it doesn't make sense to go back to on-premises 100%. But there are some workloads that make sense. They totally make sense. We talk about storage. We talk about latency. We talk about the network as well. So there are some workloads that make sense to repatriate because that is the way that it should be. Not only because of cost of saving money, it's also because of the way that these workloads are let's say behaving in your environment, right? And as we mentioned, also we saw some platforms that they were having some disruptions in the past, right? And this is something to take into consideration as well.
Nice. Yeah, I could see that. Vendor lock-in, adopt multi-strategies, build resilience. So that all makes sense, right? Like the, more mature cloud operating model, right? You're doing that.
Yeah, or globally distributed as well, right? It depends on the type of company that we are talking about. But if you have a workload in different locations, perhaps it makes sense for you as well, right? And perhaps you cannot do it all on premises, and you need a hyperscale. So,
Tony, you mentioned this earlier, and I just thought I would loop back to you a little bit. And adopt multi-cloud strategy because things run better, in different clouds. And I get that. That makes sense on paper when we talk about it. But do we actually see people actually doing that?
It's hard. It's hard because you mentioned it, Eric. People are going to one hyperscaler and they stay there, right? Because it's more comfortable, it's easier, it's
right.
It's the easy. Well, I don't want to say the easy way, but the most comfortable way, maybe. You don't need to think about that. And again, I believe you need to understand your workloads. Perhaps there is one that is having a particular database that is better to have it in one hyperscaler and not in the other one. Perhaps it's that one that is using an app that requires licenses that is better to use in one and not in another one, right? You need to play around. Is this something easy to do? No, it's not. Perhaps it's more difficult, but I believe it's the way that you are going to not only save money, but get the best for each hyperscaler and also for the on-premises, right? Because again, there are some of your workloads that make sense to keep them or bring them back.
And I agree with you, Gabi. And I have a nice little analogy with this.
I'm getting a power warning, so I'm going to go get a power supply. Tony, continue on.
Okay. So if you look at most organizations have some office productivity tool that they purchased. Microsoft Office 365,
Yes.
Google productivity tools, all of these different tools out there. And they go with what works best for their organization.
Yeah.
Comes from one cloud provider. Then they may have another cloud provider that provides all of their sales backend. Here's our Salesforce instance or whatever instance they're using. Those are two different clouds. And to your point, you find the one that works best for you. You've got to play around with that to find it. But that's going to give you the optimal benefit for your organization.
Yeah, but it's going to take a while, right? It's not something simple to do, yeah?
Yeah, it's not something you can just go, okay, I'm going to get 10 users and give them 1 week to test and see if one works better than the other. You need to spread it out over a little bit of time there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I'm back. I got a power supply plugged in. Nice to know. Sustainability and energy, optimize hardware use by actual demand, avoiding wasteful over provisioning. So if you're on prem, you definitely get that for sure, right?
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah. Power data centers with local renewable energy sources. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put solar panels up on my roof and run my data center in my garage, right, from my home lab. You get more control there. I like this one bullet, which is extend hardware lifespan and implement responsible recycling practices. So when you go to cloud, you don't really get to dictate when they're going to just throw stuff away. I got old machines. Right? Yeah, right. Yeah, they just run it as an optimized business, but they generally don't take eco environment into concern. They're more on optimization for financial, and if you do care about not just wasting gold and metal and everything that goes into CPUs, you could have workloads that could run fine on slower platforms or make those platforms last longer, right? So, and amortize that over 6 years, not 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's important, right? Because we are talking about our future as well in there. So I think that is an important thing that, of course, also is not something that everybody is thinking about, right? Because there are other things that we think about until we start thinking about those type of things. But I think they're important anyway, Eric, and that is why they are there in the blog.
Absolutely, and I'm going to add on to that. Not only do you have just the sustainability aspect of, well, I can squeeze more time out of this and I'm going to save the environment. You also have financial incentives. If you think about GPUs, most of your hyperscalers and stuff have GPUs, and that you want the bleeding edge GPU for whatever workload you're running there. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If you're in the cloud, you want that GPU. Well, next generation comes out 18 months later or less, you want to move to that. Well, that works great on-prem because you can sit there and take the old GPU and use it for something else. You can reprovision it like you were talking about, Eric. That doesn't happen in a lot of the cloud environments. So you actually lose out on that because, of course, you're going to get charged more because it's the new processor, it's the new GPU.
Yeah, and everything just adds up over time, right? And so workload requirement matching, you don't optimize it, right? You get the average, whatever their decision of average is. That's what you get.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So that's interesting. And, this is why the graph at the beginning makes sense, right? 83% or 80% of everybody are now considering bringing workloads back because these are all issues that you have to deal with, and they're real numbers, right?
Yeah. Well, they're real. We are seeing that every day here, right? In professional services as well. People asking how we can help.
Yeah. And I think Hawk, our CEO, ended up, at the keynotes a couple of years ago talking about why he bought VMware and, why he thought that, a lot of CIOs that he talked to are in this process because when he did it at Broadcom, he realized his expenses were 3x when he went into the cloud versus running it in his own data centers. And he's like, this is 3 times more expensive. So, VMware, I believe, is going to be in a position to bring workloads back. And this will be a good purchase because everybody at the time was panicking that VMware would lose all their enterprise customers because, the cloud's going to take it all over. But the reality is that this is where we are now, right? And it's
yeah, it's a coexisting map right now, right? It's never is going to happen that 100% is going to be on premises or 100% is going to be in the cloud right now. I mean, if you are a startup, it makes sense that you have everything in the cloud because it's easier, right? To start, I mean. But if we are talking about really big companies, it doesn't make sense to have everything in one side. You need to start playing. And that is the key, and everybody knows that right now. When Hawk was talking about this, it was kind of a surprise, right? But he was right. I guess he was right, and numbers are showing that right now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody believed it at the time, right?
Yeah.
I think that was just a messaging that, of course, when they purchased VMware, that was going to be the messaging. But really, look at it, Broadcom and we have been very smart at it, right? And now the last part of your article, where you have a great table that shows the deltas, because you're right, it's a decision that you have to do from the feature set and your expectations, and you do a great table where you talk about hyperscaler versus on-premise and the trade-offs for latency, performance, consistency, scalability, data sovereignty, sustainability, and vendor dependency. And you have the pros and cons. You're not just coming in saying one's better than the other. You're talking about, if you're okay with 20 to 100 millisecond latency, then you're going to be fine in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you want sub-millisecond, then you're going to want to have that on-prem, right?
Yeah, because the idea of the blog is that one, right? It's to compare. I am not saying something is better than the other thing. I mean, I am not saying that cloud is bad at all. What I am saying is that it depends of your needs. You can be in one or the other one, or in an ideal world, I believe most of the cases is going to be a hybrid scenario, right? And that is what I am trying to show here in the blog, showing the difference between one and the other one, and then you can make your choice. But again, you need to understand really well your environment. You need to understand really well your workload. You need to understand your network topology, I mean internally, right? Which workloads are talking with each other. Because that is important. If you have one in the cloud and the other one you have it on premises, you can imagine the cost that is going to have, right? Because you will have a lot of egress traffic there. So you need to understand really well your environment. That is the key for me, right? And that is not something easy. That is something that is going to take you time. Again, we are in a time of the year that everything it should look different right now than the rest of the year in most of companies, right? So that is important. You need to understand how your environment behaves, and that is going to give you the answer where you should put your workloads in which is the best scenario for you. What is your best option? I think again that is the key, and that is what I am trying to say here in the blog. Of course, in another way, comparing on premises with hyperscaler, the different metrics that you have, as you mentioned, Eric, as well. So I think that is important, and perhaps it's something that you will need help to do it. Perhaps you cannot do it by yourself, right? You need help, and there are a lot of people that can help you with thinking about what is the best option for you.
Right. Well, and that gets us to the last point of your article, which is perfect because we're 42 minutes in, and I want to talk about the future. But before we do that, finishing up, you have a really cool point here at the end, which is actually building a plan, for repatriation, workload management. And let's talk about it's repatriation, but it's also more like fabric that allows you to move workloads between the two, right? Sometimes these characteristics...
Or the three.
Yeah, right, three, right. But sometimes the characteristics work that you want to have the workload in the cloud. Some characteristics you want to have it on-prem. And you say in your blog, and I just love this blog article, right? Sign of digital maturity is the fact that you do have options and control and fabric that allows you to manage your workloads on-prem and in the cloud, right? And that's the end. That's like a true, good, well-run enterprise. The fact that you can do this.
And again, it's not because you made a mistake in the past, right? It's because you understood how your environment is behaving and what makes sense or not. And that is what I am thinking when I am talking about maturity, right? You learn because of your journey, and now you are here and you learn what makes sense or not, right? And perhaps you made some mistakes, but that is common. I mean, all of us are at the very beginning were excited about cloud. I remember VMC on AWS; it was a boom, right? We all were excited about that, and now we need to think a little bit slower, right? What is the better scenario for each workload, and that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And what a great article! Loved reading it, and that's why we got it on your show. And it's beautiful, and I highly recommend anybody go check that out and look at the tables, look at the graphs, and understand this, because probably everybody's going to be facing a project like this. If you're on-prem, you're going to probably want to have some way to get to cloud, and if you're in cloud, you're going to probably want to have some way to bring some of it back and know how to measure this stuff. Right?
And I'm happy to help or have discussions. So I am open in Twitter. So if we
right, that's where we kind of we go into now, right? As we've been podcast streaming for 45 minutes. How did people get a hold of you? So you're on Twitter. So let's give it what is it? At Gabi?
It's Gabi Nuñes.
V is in Victor, Gabi Nunes.
Like VMware, but
yeah. So you got the V going, right? Okay, V Gabi, VGABI Nunes, Nunes. So go give him a like and a follow, right? He's on X or Twitter, and I'm on Twitter, and we still tweet. We never gave up on Twitter. We're here.
No, I like it. I really like it.
Yeah. I'm just like, I think it's finally coming back, right? Like I was like, I'm just not going anywhere else. I'm here. This is what I'm going to keep promoting, and hopefully everybody get used to the fact that they renamed it X, which I'm not a fan of. But there you go. So go give him a follow, because it'll show that we care as a community, be part of that. And then I always ask guests, as we come into the last 10 minutes of the podcast, what are you thinking about doing next? I know you got some great articles on your blog. You've done several other ones. If I look at the sidebar here, you got all your vExpert awards. That's great. But you also covered Cloud Foundation 9.0 architecture, operations and best practices, design decisions for VMware Cloud Foundation, upgrading a vSphere 8X environment to Cloud Foundation 9, and then finally Workload. So we're already you have 3 new blog articles since the repatriation article.
I am trying to have 1 or 2 per month. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes I cannot. It depends of the time, right? But now I am focusing on VCF because there are a lot of questions there. There are a lot of people upgrading VCF or moving from vSphere to VCF. VCF 9 is a hot topic, and that is why I like the one that is called Design Decisions for VMware Cloud Foundation, because that is something that people are asking as well.
Right.
What do I need in a design point of view for moving from an old version of VCF or non-VCF at all, right? I'm moving to VCF. So I like that one. And next, what I am thinking right now is to continue with VCF 9, and I am waiting for VCF 9.1 next year, right? Because VCF automation is going to be a big thing there. And I think I will write about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never enabled my automation console. I had to go through and do a lot of that work. And on my home lab, I haven't done that yet. I need to go make that happen.
I work a lot with cloud providers in the past 4 or 5 years. So I know about VCD, and VCD is coming to VCFA now. So that is why I'm excited about that, waiting for the new version, right? How cloud providers are going to use it.
Right. That makes sense. Got to do a shout out to Bob Plankers, who's at the Wichita VMUG meeting. Tony, is that where he's at?
Correct. He's at the Wichita VMUG Christmas party.
That's awesome. Christmas parties are happening. I was walking through the airport coming back from DC from the VMUG board meeting, and they had one of the gates all roped off, and they had a big Christmas party for the airport people, right? And it was, Santa Claus was there, kids were there, families were there. It made me think, oh yeah, 'tis the season, right? A lot of fun. So glad that Bob could make it out to VMUG meetings in Wichita. That's great. And shout out to all the VMUG leaders that are trying to do something for the holiday season, to keep community involved. So like that. I also have to do a shout out to the GTO organization inside of Broadcom. Broadcom did a really great job. I think they had 25 people working on the Advantage project over the last 6 months, right, to make this happen with tokens and pages and integrating into the platform so that everybody can be a first-class citizen, even though you're just an Advantage member. You don't have an enterprise site ID. You don't have an enterprise account. You're just a guy coming in on a Gmail address, right? But yet they did all the work to make that happen, so you could have your own Broadcom support portal with your license panels and your keys and your download access. So shout out to everybody on that team, Suresh and a couple others that I work with for the last 6 months. It wasn't me. I was just going there. Shout out to May, our great VCF product license manager. She manages all the products and all the licenses, and helped us figure that out, like what certifications to take, what license are you going to get. Shout out to William Lamb for testing. Like he and I were the test engineers. He tested the tokens, making sure you were getting the right token for the right dates, all right, for the date ranges. So he was part of that. So there was a lot of people that helped. Shout out to Matt Hilstead, who was our external customer tester. So they did a lot of work. He did a lot of work on that. Man, he did a lot of work. I would text him every other day. Hey, could you go check this out? And we filed like 4 bugs. Things were not working for him. And so, we got that cleaned up. And so shout out to everybody in GTO.org and Broadcom in general, Joan Stone, Hawk, everybody worked on this program to make it happen. Before this, Broadcom had never given out any free software for any reason whatsoever. And a lot of VPs were like, well, we don't know how to do this. We don't do that. But, everybody came together, and, Paul Turner supported us over time. And so got a shout out to all those people that enable this to be where we are. And so enjoy that, and spend some time over the holiday getting VCF 9 running. You'll have a blast for sure. And then finally, as we head into the last few minutes of the podcast, Gabi, like, I know you live in Cork, Ireland right now,
Yeah.
but we do a V Barbecue report. We live stream on youtube.com/VBarbecue. We're also on Spotify. We're also on Apple. So you can listen to us all over the place, depending on whether you want to watch us or just listen to the audio stream. So for V Barbecue, we always do an end of the show and talk a little bit about barbecue. So, Gabi, I don't know if we should talk about Cork, Ireland barbecue or your home country barbecue.
I prefer to talk about the Argentinian one. Yeah. Of course.
Okay, yeah, we all know that's amazing, right? So
Yeah,
I
I need
don't
it,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have the Argentinian, Brazilian steakhouses here in
No,
California.
don't compare Argentina with
No,
Brazil.
don't say that. Right? Yeah, I don't know which is which anymore. But I would say that it seems more like it's grilled meat, right? Is it barbecue, like where you actually put seasoning on and smoke it, or do you just basically grill the meat?
Yeah, it's smoking. Yeah,
Okay.
you can use good, or you can use. I know how to say it in Spanish, but not in English. But sorry, yeah,
Charcoal.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. So there are different ways of doing it. In Argentina, it's something that we used to do every weekend with friends, with family. We really enjoy that. And everybody is having a barbecue, 1 or 2 barbecues per weekend, I would say, right? It's really popular.
Nice. That makes me hungry.
Also, yeah, me too. And here it's almost 9 p.m., so I am hungry. Also, now in Christmas, because in Argentina it's summer, so they will have.
Oh, do they do some holiday barbecuing in the summer?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, I never even thought of that. That's nice, right? Like do some smoked ribs or some big piece of meat. But yeah, like that, pork or beef or chicken.
Beef. I would say beef. Yeah, cow.
Yeah, cow. I'm thinking about trying to do smoked turkey. I know that somebody I was talking to was doing that, and I thought, I should go get a turkey. There's frozen turkeys around after Thanksgiving and Christmas. Turkey's a big thing, and I think I would just like to smoke it on my smoker and do it like just a.
How long is it going to take that?
3, 2, 1, 3 hours, and then you cover it tinfoil 2 hours, and then the last hour you open it up, and but you go really slow, 160 degrees, something like that.
Okay.
I've never done it. I got to go research it and figure out what I want to do there. But I'm thinking I want to do that because it would be fun.
You actually can't do the 3-2-1 method on
a
most
turkey?
turkeys because they're so large. You've got to put a temperature probe in them. And so you've got to watch for the plateau on the temperature gauge. And then once it plateaus, then you can start doing the 2-1 method on it.
Yeah, protect it. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. And I haven't had any good, barbecued fowl birds in a while, right? I've been stuck on ribs and steak and pork, mostly ribs, and fish. I've done some smoked fish and some smoked, pork usually, and that's my go-to, but I'm thinking I want some chicken or turkey would be even more interesting.
And the turkey is with white wine, or how do you?
I haven't done it yet, so I'm just saying that's what I want to do.
When you are going to eat it, are you going to?
Oh, am I gonna eat it with white wine? No. I just usually make mashed potatoes, corn, and cranberry sauce and some other stuff. I haven't smoked one yet, but turkey normally I do with gravy and potatoes and happiness. So yeah. Alcohol, I don't know. I've been doing shots lately, right? Like give me some vodka.
No, but that is not good for having dinner, right? No, it's not a good idea.
No. But yeah, I wouldn't do mashed potatoes and gravy. Now, what you might try is smoked sweet potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
You might try smoked sweet potatoes if you want to have a starch like that. Because those come out really good. I don't know if you've ever smoked sweet potatoes before or not. But those, you get such a rich flavor with them.
All right. Well, that's something to do. Makes me hungry now, and it is 12:56 in California time. So we podcasted through lunch like always, but then I'll go get something to eat. Enjoy that thought. Gabi, thanks for staying up late at night in Ireland. Appreciate it. Love the article. Love the blog. Love the the real world thoughts in this. I don't know if Broadcom pays you to dream this stuff up, or you just kind of just decide
No,
you're going to do some
own,
research.
Yeah, it's my own personal blog, so no.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, Tony Foster, thanks for joining. Gabi, thanks. Corey, good to see you. We'll be back again next week. We got a couple more guests scheduled for the rest of December, and so we'll be talking about that. Look out for your VMUG Advantage email that gives you that cert renewal. And if you haven't bought your Advantage membership, I think they had a Black Friday sale. I know that, so they might actually run a Christmas sale as well. But go sign up for VMUG Advantage. It's $200 a year, give or take, and it really does help out VMUG. It helps us out. It helps us do these programs. There was discussion at the board meeting of, if they don't see membership increase again, they used to have like 12,000 members, but with the whole VCP certification requirement, they're somewhere around a couple thousand members, and they need to see that spike back up again as people get certified, because it's funding for a lot of the stuff that VMUG does. So go sign up. You can probably expense it with your company, a couple $100. It auto renews, and you'll be on the gravy train. So, well, you'll get us on the gravy train, one of the two. But appreciate all the work. Shout out to everybody that made it happen. And we'll be back again next Wednesday at noon. Until then, go get yourself some barbecue and enjoy the holiday season. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, bye.